episode of a Podversation with. This episode 4, features the genius, Dave Columbo. I can't think of enough good words to describe him. Yeah, man, we talk about just about everything. It's a real nice interview. Went a little longer than normal, but I kept it at length because it was a lot of fun. So listen and enjoy. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people the further North Florida is more southern than South Florida.
Yeah.
Because I was born in Pensacola, where even the birds go tweet, tweet, as my mother used to say. And I was raised in South Florida, which is just like a suburbia, and doesn't really have that. I was actually just in Orlando a couple of weeks ago visiting family. And as a New Yorker, it's weird because you feel like there's always eyes on you. There's always something going around, but you forget in Florida there's like 30 acres of just like right outside my hotel is just wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could sprain your ankle and they'd never find your body.
Oh yeah.
If you couldn't get to somebody and your cell phone was out of battery, you might not make it, which is a weird thing to have to remember after being in New York, where you feel like you can't even stick your finger in your nose without 8 people seeing it and judging you. It's yeah. I mean, did you enjoy Florida? I wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, it was, but like, this is like where I think a lot of Floridians feel the same, or just people that grow up in areas that are more rural than might suit them.
Mm-hmm.
It was like where that something's not right, but you don't know if it's just because, like, you know what I mean? Where you're just like, I don't like this. And you don't understand if it's, you don't realize until later that I go, oh, I was frustrated as a kid.
Right.
Because I couldn't do anything. Like, all we could do was go outside and play football or stay in, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Whatever. Like, I couldn't go to concerts. Like, regularly. I couldn't go to whatever it was that I wanted. I couldn't go to see wrestling. I couldn't, because it was so limited by who you could get a ride from, where you could get a ride to, because there was no mass transit.
Right, and it's literally, I mean, where I was, it was I-95, north and south, and every couple of miles there was an exit, and every exit looked the same, everything, and yeah, it was, I don't know how much I was aware of it then, because I felt like, as a kid, you just accepted the town you're in. You cannot leave. So I wouldn't even think about it very much until I think the internet age, because I was 3rd, 4th grade by the time the internet started to come around, and really seeing that there is a connection to everything and there is access to this whole world. It wasn't like I was born in the 50s and didn't know that there was other stuff out there, but like, I think I was content, like, The Amazing Jonathan was one of my favorite comics, and he came to the West Palm Beach Chuckle Hut, or whatever it was at the time, like, within a month of me falling head over heels for him. So, holy crap, there he is, boom, let's go. Like, I got lucky, Bare Naked Ladies are performing at Sunfest, and I just happened to like the Bare Naked Ladies. So I think I got I got fed enough to keep me from feeling antsy until I got to my teens, where I was like, get me out of here. It's just old people in Bermuda shorts settling down, and I do not want to become that.
You started watching Comedy Central, do you know about what year?
Oh, yeah. But when it was the Comedy Channel, before,
right away.
Yeah, I mean,
when they got
immediately,
okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you knew this, that in New York, South Park is what made Comedy Central part of the basic cable package.
Really?
Until then, you had to buy a specialty thing.
Yeah.
So when I moved up here, in Florida we had Comedy Central since its inception. Right?
Yeah.
By the time, now think about the way that Comedy Central changed from the time that, with short attention span theater, with Mark Maron and A. Whitney Brown, to just the A-list. Remember that with Richard Lewis was the host. Just all the comedy shows. They had the urban. There was the ubiquitous urban comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff that they used to show, and then think of how it changed from then to the South Park era. And think of how much stand-up that they scaled back in favor of, other programming. And I think it's.
Oh yeah, the original was 90% stand-up. I remember the A-list. I remember that set, thinking that set was so gorgeous and awesome. And I grew up. The only sketch show I remember from Comedy Central way back was Almost Live. With Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah, Joel McHale too.
Joel McHale, who Joel McHale looks like he's 25 now.
Yeah, perpetually.
I mean, go to hell, dude. Like, dude, man. 1991, 1992, he looks exactly the same. Like, that's. But yeah, I remember.
Nobody ever remembers that show.
No, absolutely not.
Great show.
Mind Your Manners with Billy Kwan.
That was
the
best.
Lame List. These were all things that I grew up on and loved. And even as an early age, I didn't really put two and two together that it was something that I wanted to do. But it was a part of my detox at the beginning of the day and after, when I got home from school, to just watch some stand up. And I saw how much my mom liked it, and I was like, that's fucking, that's what I want. Just to enjoy something as much as she's enjoying watching Richard Jenny, do his Platypus Man special or whatever it was, yeah.
So, I'm assuming that you were always, on some level, wanting to entertain people.
Just the people I cared about.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of it. I remember my mom used to tell stories of me going to the supermarket with her and walking into walls just to make a scene, which I guess is the cliche, hey, everyone look at me thing. But I remember doing it just to make my mom laugh. I wasn't interested in making everybody in the classroom laugh. I wanted just the 2 or 3 people that I liked to think I was funny or to think that I was entertaining. But yeah, I guess it is that oh man, you want to entertain people, you want to have attention on you. But I remember needing more than that. Like, I didn't care if that kid that nobody liked or talked to thought I was funny. I wanted that kid that made me laugh to think I was funny. Like, that was it.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of good stand-ups. We're always funny, but we're rarely the class clown. Where that wasn't really the purpose.
Why do you think that is? You think it's because they acknowledge that it's lowballing to just try to appeal to everybody?
Yep. I think there's 2 different things. There's the early development of what would be considered to be artistic integrity.
Right.
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 Oh, I could blow snot out of my nose right now, but where's the challenge? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think that on some level, even as a child, everyone with a certain kind of mind wants a challenge and wants to work a little bit, not too much, because we're comics, but and I think also that it also has to do with the inherent shyness and introversion that all creative and intelligent people possess on one level, where it's also the thing of like I'm going to say like maybe an element of perfectionism. I mean, I do consider you to be almost a perfectionist, at least because I know how hard you scrutinize yourself and your jokes. So I think it's also that idea of being more measured with what you're doing and more considerate, whereas the class clown, you have to be, because comedy is so much timing that you just have to be prepared to make the fart noise every second. And I think that there's the idea of just being a little bit more patient, picking your spots.
Right.
There's
George Foreman, and then there's Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I would wait. I mean, yeah. If I can compare myself to Muhammad Ali a little bit,
I've actually called you the Muhammad Ali of comedy. Yeah.
I appreciate
I've
that.
said that.
I float like a butterfly and sting like a. See, I can't come up with a nice, Muhammad Ali parallel pun when I need one. I think what it is, what for me, what I notice is when I was a kid, my mom was the easiest person to make laugh in the world. My mom was the goofster. She's going to come up with a stupid joke. She was the Jonathan McBride, where it's like, why would I waste this second not trying to make people laugh?
Yeah.
It's a waste of a minute if I'm not like ruining this special moment to make you laugh. That was my mom, and my dad was the opposite. My dad was very measured. He was the toughest guy in the room. And I think there's something about the cocktail of having enough people in your life that are easy to make laugh, so you're building a foundation for humor, but also you have the people in your life that are not easy to make laugh. So, oh man, I got to work for this. So when you do get the laughs, it's like it feels like you're eating chocolate. Like, oh god, I got a chuckle out of that dude. Oh man, you know, and having the right amount of that keeps me from being goofy for everything. It's just like, oh, I'm actually building a skill. I'm trying to get a muscle out of this, you know? I don't know. Yeah.
So let's talk about acting, because it's impossible to talk about about you without talking about acting. Was it just because you loved movies so much that you just wanted to be a part of whatever that was, or
no? I was my best friend Gabe, who was my wrestling cohort, went to an art high school. I was actually running track and field. That was the first thing I did in school where I noticed I was better than other kids and was getting noticed. We would play flag football with against other schools, and I would hear kids I had never met before be like, oh shit, go after the kid with the afro and the glasses. And I was the only one with the afro and the glasses. And already I was getting like a reputation from other kids, like, this kid's fast, which meant the world to me. Like, I was like smiling like at the line of scrimmage, like, oh really, me? Oh, okay, here we go, you know. And so I was doing that and enjoying it. And then my buddy was like, dude, you should audition for this art high school. And I liked movies, I liked stand-up, I liked comedy, I liked performance, but I never thought of it as something that I wanted to do until my friend was like, dude, this art high school is really awesome, it's real cool, you should audition for the theater department. It's like some magnet school. And I obsessed to memorize Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven was going to be my audition piece. I needed a monologue, and I didn't know what that was. So I memorized all of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven so that I could literally just do the only 3 stanzas, and then it still wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do the rest of my life. But when you are in high school and that's the thing that takes your time, it's only a matter of time before the ball starts rolling and it becomes your entire life, and I can't imagine doing anything else, and this is what it's going to be.
She just kind of got swept up.
Yeah. The first time you do a monologue and a girl's looking at you, because she has to. You know? It's like, oh, okay, I can get on board with this. And again, it's tied into making your friends laugh, doing the comedic monologue, and making your friends cry when you do the dramatic monologue, and feeling like you're getting nips. Like you're putting your pole out in the water and you're getting bites. People thinking you're good. Little things here and there, little compliments that you know they didn't have to say. And that's what you're looking for when you're a kid. Is you're looking for that thing that sets you apart, that makes you not just, oh yeah, that guy. You know, something that you'll be defined as. And when you're a kid, that's the world. You know.
Is it still the same for you to get any kind of reaction, or have you now found that you actually desire to make them laugh, as opposed to making them feel whatever it is?
That's a very good question. I think that I haven't picked up the acting thing in a while. I've been focusing so much on stand-up, and so much of stand-up is I want one specific thing, that dusting off that, like, sure, I'd love to do a dramatic monologue. I was on was on a date the other night, and I got drunk and actually said the words, "Hey, do you want to hear me do a monologue?" Because it is still a part of my life. I still have that. I still have those 3 Shakespearean monologues, that one dramatic, one contemporary, serio-comic, Arthur Miller. I still have those in my head, and it is something that I think I do well. So of course it's something still in my mind as like, oh, this will make you remember me, blah, blah, blah. But it's not something that I've done recently enough that I really remember what it feels like. And it's different. Like, when you're doing stand-up, there's lights in your face, but you hear something, hopefully. Mm-hmm. When you're doing a dramatic play, you specifically don't want to hear or see. If you're doing a dramatic monologue in the middle of a play, and you are looking at the audience and trying to gauge a reaction in that moment, then you're not doing your job right. Mm-hmm. I remember I did a You Can't Take It With You? Yeah, I did You Can't Take It With You at some community theater where I'm supposed to be this kind of well-to-do guy who's trying to go out with this girl with a crazy family, and she's from a lower-class family, and it's a very kind of, it's quirky, but it's not ha-ha funny. Mm-hmm. It was like written in the 20s or something, and it's supposed to be me just trying to win her and find out if we're compatible. It's a very poignant scene, and I remember I was in the middle of it, and I just go, what is it that you like about me? And someone in the audience goes, your wallet. Like, commenting on the fact that my character is rich, and like completely missing the point completely for what the scene is supposed to be about, because she is falling in love with me, I'm falling in love with her, but it got a laugh. And it's it's like, dude, man. Stand-up is fine. I get up there for 12 minutes, I try to make you laugh, and then I get the hell off the stage. But I put on a tie. I put on makeup. You know, like, I stood at that mark behind that door for 8 minutes waiting to come on. There's a lot that's going into this. Don't let me see that you aren't, that you're reacting in that moment, you know? Like, God. So yeah, it's different, you know.
Do you miss that part of it, the makeup and the costume changes and that
no,
sort of thing?
If I missed anything, it's the camaraderie of being in a play, of getting to know somebody over a long period of time, somebody you maybe wouldn't have ever thought, like, oh, if we were coworkers, I would never talk to you. But being stuck in a room waiting to go on with a certain group of people, you feel like you're going through the same process, you're in the same foxhole, if a war metaphor is at all accurate. But you get a lot of that with stand-up. You get it's not the same, but it's close. Of these are your boys, these are your friends, and these are the hangout.
Do you feel competitive with other comics?
Yeah. The delusional. We're all delusional enough to think that we offer something great. So there's always that side of you that is able to convince yourself that I must be offering something that this person isn't. Even you really have no reason to believe that. Like, if I saw, I get competitive when I see somebody who looks like me and is doing my similar thing, but only because I'm worried they're going to go into a concept that I do. Like, that's the thing. Like, if he's just a funny dude, great. There's all the room in the world. But when I see he's got my similar mind, I'm sure you feel the same way when someone starts setting up something that's really close to a joke you have, and you're just like, don't go in the same direction I did, man. I don't even want this to be an issue. Don't. Oh, man, you went in the same direction I went. And that can go either way. Like, there are times, like, I do a joke about dreams that someone did something similar to, but I'm like, yeah, mine was better. Mm-hmm. But then there's another one, like I do a joke about tattoos, that Joe DeSantis did the exact same joke, but his was way funnier. He took my exact concept, which is, he didn't take it.
Right.
He wrote a version of it completely independently that happened to be the same, you know. But they're both the exact same setup. I would never get a tattoo unless it would be something practical. and we both do the exact same concept that it would be a map of the New York City subway system.
Huh.
But whereas my punchline is, you can get to 14th Street Union Square after 6 p.m., like, ha ha ha, he has this whole drawn out, like, it'd be a map of the Lower East Side. You know, I'd say, honey, I can get you there. Buy me a drink, you know, and he go, and it's good, and it's like, damn it, you didn't take, you had the same concept, but you did better with it. Like, great, fuck, I gotta like stand back and let you just kind of have fun with it. Like, okay, you win, you know. So there's both sides. There's, you know, the competitive, like, ooh man, that's a similar concept, and then there's accepting when someone did it better than you.
So,
like,
but so you feel with certain comics, but not all comics.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, especially comics who don't look like me or who are not my similar style, because stand-up, I think more than anything else, is the closest form to pure expression that there is left. So even if Nerdy Dude gets up there, there's still so many branches he can go that aren't my Nerdy Dude act that it's so hard for me to feel like he's doing what I'm doing. Even a guy who looks like me, who sounds like me, he's going to go into the computer side of nerdy, which is not my world. So there's enough room for both of us. So it's really hard to find that person versus being an actor in LA, going to an audition and just seeing someone who looks exactly like you, and you know for a fact they're going to be reading the exact same lines you are. Oh shit! Like he is direct competition for that exact thing that I don't have any control over.
You talked about expression. Did you, at any point, become frustrated as an actor with not being able to say your own words, or was it such a different skill for you that wasn't part of the equation?
You had your things. In high school, I was just figuring out what it is to exercise the muscle of acting and enjoying everything and not knowing about other things. Like, whatever play we did was the only play I had read. You know, like, whatever play happened to be going up, I'll read that play. Great. So I don't really know that there's other stuff. Then when I got to college, all of the plays that that would go up would be really existential, avant-garde, weird stuff that I didn't feel spoke to me. Mm-hmm. And so me and my friends started a theater troupe and did our own plays. We produced the plays we wanted to. We'd get together, we'd read Glengarry Glen Ross, we'd read Julius Caesar, we'd find things that had a lot of a good core guy cast, and we'd find what we wanted to do, and we produced it. It was shitty quality in terms of the production values, but it was enough to make us feel like we were in control of this process. And same with when we got out of college, I would, drive 3 hours on the 405 to go to an audition where they'd be like, thank you, goodbye. And I had no control over that, but then I'd go write a sketch and film it with my buddy, and we would put it on YouTube that day. And so I was getting enough of I see. Like, feeling like I was in control of the paintbrush to make me not pull my hair out. But there are actors out there who don't, and they go crazy, and it's because they don't know, or they didn't know that they could do. There's plenty of things. Do a podcast, paint, literally paint, do sketch, do improv, whatever it is. But there's ways to make you feel like you are in control of this beast, even though you're totally not.
You mentioned yourself as being a dorky guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you intentionally downplay your charisma on stage, or are you not conscious of?
Well, that's the rub is no comic, even Richard Lewis, would not do what he does, would not have survived years of shitty open mics unless he had some level of confidence in himself. But what comes out is the neurotic blah, blah, blah. I'm very confident in myself, but I worry about my material I find it easier to write my stuff when it's coming from a place of, hey, I'm just like you guys, I don't know what to do with women, I look like this. Pointing out the flaws gets more of a reaction from people than, for me, gets more of a reaction than, yeah, I got it going on. I mean, I can literally, like, I can put a number to it. I can count the number of women I've slept with on my hand, on one hand. So I know that it doesn't necessarily translate to sex appeal, but in terms of just, like, charisma, there has to be something to get people to even listen to you for 5-10 minutes. But I like taking that and then going into the zone of weird and self-conscious, because that rings true to me. The first time I saw Mick Andrews get up on stage and just do like 5 minutes about default male and this is what I look like, and I'm like, oh crap, there's a whole world of self-conscious, here's what I look like to the world, I'm aware of it, that I hadn't even touched. And so far, it has given me a lot of material. You know. Just as some other comic, like an Andrew Dice Clay, can get up there and confidence gives them their material and is what speaks to them.
Do you feel like there's a difference between being conscious and aware of yourself and being self-deprecating?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if I juggle that or how I juggle that. I'd rather that be vague than people think I'm an asshole.
Right.
You know,
you'd rather have them confuse self-awareness with not liking yourself as opposed to overconfidence or cockiness,
or think that I'm confusing it.
Right.
I would rather them think that I'm confused or he's doing this. I'd rather that than, well, that guy's an asshole. You know, just because I have so like there's when I get into arguments with people, sometimes they tell me I sound very condescending, which is completely foreign to me because I have so little confidence. Not confidence, but I don't think that my opinion is ever better than anybody else's. And that was a big problem with relationships with me for a long time, was I didn't have confidence in my own thought process. I would just kind of defer. So I just never... I try so hard not to sound like I have it all figured out. Because even if I do totally have it figured out, I'd rather sound like I don't. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just a quirk. It's just a...
Well, it's just wanting to... It's just your desire to please people and make them feel comfortable. You'd rather look like, I don't want to say the fool, but you'd rather look like that than have them be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think that my comedy requires a level of brain power. Mm-hmm. I've been told that like my stuff is higher brow. I'm using words like idioms and Supreme Court justice rulings in my set. So if I can ease the audience and make them not have to work so hard to get me before they've heard my words, whatever I can do to help. Because I feel like an audience is always exuding a certain amount of brain power, trying to figure this person out, trying to figure out what their perspective is, and if you have to bring them along to your philosophy, then they're already exhibiting...
You feel like you're asking too much? Or?
Yeah. I don't think I'd get laughs. If I'm telling you, here's my very specific philosophy, guys, I want you to get in on it. This is the world that you should be living in, everybody. And then I did my set where I'm referencing things that are maybe like... That take a little thought process. I just think that's asking people too much.
You referenced what, Plessy versus Ferguson or something?
That's one of my favorite jokes.
I just remember that because I only heard it once, and I remember you doing it, and I remember me almost wetting my pants and being like, I can't believe that he did a Plessy versus Ferguson joke.
Well, that's always the problem. Is I always try, if I'm going to reference something absurd or something very highbrow, I want it to be within the context of, isn't it absurd that somebody would say this? Not, hey, if you don't get it, it's not funny. The Plessy versus Ferguson joke is, I love those old-time pun comedians who are just moving too fast. And if I were one of those guys, I would just come up with the most absurd pun, just so it's like, why are you mad that I didn't get it? Like, and that's why I think it's funny, because then you can go as far as you want into intellectual territory, and I think it's funny. It doesn't matter if you if you even know what Plessy versus Ferguson is, but hopefully you've heard it somewhere in the history books, and you know that it is something.
I love that. I watched an old tape of yours. It was I don't remember the punchline was it's called About Shit. These are jokes, people.
Yeah.
These are jokes. And you know what I love about that is that, and I've noticed a couple of your sketch films, or your little shorts, were devoted. And not to downplay it, that sounded condescending. That you're very much into the tradition of entertainment, the history of entertainment and comedy from vaudeville to now.
Yeah.
Do you like consider yourself? I mean, this might be a little, maybe of a higher thing that maybe you've ever thought of like yourself as part of a tradition of comedy. Do you think that that's important to you? That the old, like the Borscht Belt type of humor, all the different manners. Because I know that you're a fan of Monty Python, and in doing that, you know what I mean. It's like you have a very complete picture of comedy and the history of comedy. Is that important to you, or is that just because you like comedy so much?
Insofar as the people that I respect are the people that read. Steve Martin, you got to know the rules before you can break the rules. Mm-hmm. Steve Martin knows about, like, he's a smart guy, so he can do jokes making fun of a certain thing or reference a certain thing. Patton Oswalt is a really, like, avid reader and makes these references that I aspire to get, that I don't even get. Mystery Science Theater 3000. I want to know as much as I can so that I can get as specific as I want.
I see.
It's not necessarily the feeling like I'm keeping a flame alive for blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I have a kid, we're watching Abbott and Costello. Like, we're watching Three Stooges. He is going to... Like, I feel like my responsibility is with my child, not necessarily with the product I put out yet, because until my things on YouTube get more than 200 views, I think it's a little weird for me to expect that I have a reputation to maintain or anything like that. And I might get to that point eventually, maybe, but right now it's just a feeling of I like being able to make a punchline be Plessy versus Ferguson. Like, I like that as a punchline because I think it's funny, and because I think it's funny to make an audience mind have to go to a place like that. Like, I do a joke where I'll do something that's really dated, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, we're doing really dated humor tonight. I got some Teapot Dome scandal jokes. I don't know a lot about the Teapot Dome scandal, but everybody has in their head, oh, Teapot Dome scandal, that thing that I saw in the American history textbook from the 20s, the 30s. Everyone has a vague idea, but they know of it. It's a funny collection of words, and they know of it as being something from the past. And to me, that's funny, of being able to just bring that up. So that's about as far as I take it. But yeah, I don't want you to have to know what the Teapot Dome scandal is to think it's funny, but it would help, Maybe you can teach me, because I don't fucking know. Something about carpetbaggers, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I have... You clearly know more than me on this. You mentioned philosophy. Mm-hmm. Do you... Are you conscious of showing a worldview or a philosophy through your comedy, or do you think it's a byproduct, or are they...
I don't think so. It's not something I'm consciously thinking about. As someone who's still primarily an open micer, I'm working in 5-minute increments. and it all has the same voice because it's all for me, but I'm not thinking of a grander... I was thinking the other day about a running theme that comes into a lot of my stuff is confidence and my lack of confidence, the illusion of confidence in other people and my lack of confidence. And if I did have a special that I felt like needed to have a theme, maybe that would be it. Because a lot of my setups involve me feeling like I'm an idiot, me making fun of people that think they have it all figured out, and it all comes back to confidence, but that's a very abstract, general theme. It's not necessarily a philosophy, I don't think, but
there is a lot of even like thinking about your from being the overly confident high school to being humbled at UCLA, and then gaining the confidence back with your own little private group, and then. But having that at night, and then the humbling of the auditions at day, and then back to the confidence, and then stand-up, which is constantly, I'm the best, I'm the worst, I'm the best, I'm the worst, I'm the best, I'm the worst. So, I mean, I don't think I think that's just, that is your experience,
Yeah, and maybe a subliminal thing about stand-up is the ideal, even if you're an actor, and you make it. You know you're in a world where it's incredibly superficial, and at any point, if someone finds a good nip slip of you, it's all, I mean, if you're a chick, but, immediately you do a movie that's bad and everyone hates you. Like, that you're a polarizing figure as an actor who's made it. People don't automatically give you respect, no matter who you are. But with stand-up, once you get to a certain point, they didn't come to your show unless they liked you. And that doesn't give you a free ride to not do a good show. You still have to do a good show, obviously. But stand-up, there does seem to be an endpoint of, if I'm your thing, you're coming to my show, and I have my group of fans, and I don't even see... I don't think Hannibal Buress is ever in a situation where he has to take criticism about someone who doesn't like him. I mean, I guess maybe a good example would be someone who I don't like. Like, I love Hannibal Buress. I'm not real big on Aziz Ansari.
Okay.
I'm not really big on him. There's no reason he and I would ever be in a position where he'd have to hear my criticism of him. And that's kind of like a great thing about stand-up, is that there does seem to be this endpoint, this thing to shoot towards of, you have your fan base, and everyone else can fuck off. Right.
Yeah.
And
you always, I mean, I always tell myself that that's the point when I'll finally feel comfortable. When people are like, I always think of that Simpsons, when it's like John Oates, Art Garfunkel, remember? And she's like,
born to run her up.
Like, why would they come just to boo? That totally turned my head around about the whole idea of of what you were saying. It was just someday you won't have to say the line about, don't you love that part when I come out on stage and you don't know if I'm any good, because they're already saying that they accept you.
Or who's Steve Leventhal, who's got the joke where there's a built-in punchline that you don't know his name. That he's at work and he knows he's doing a good job because his friend's like, "Hey, Larry, my name is Steve, guys." And it gets a laugh because he has to remind everybody that his name is Steve, because he's at a mic and you wouldn't necessarily have remembered that his name was Steve. So
All right, so let's talk about first. All right, a couple of things. Let's talk about the amazing Jonathan. First and foremost.
God.
He was one of the early sort of standout stars on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal you got to see him live. Was there were you attracted to the magic at all, or was it the whole act, or because I'm wondering, it's interesting because you have mentioned him as an influence, but why no magic for Dave Columbo? That's what I wonder.
I mean, everybody had the magic set when they were a kid. I did the Magic Works. Do you ever get those? Magic Works were like $10 in the early 90s. They were really expensive, but they were like better quality magic tricks than anything else you could buy, and they were all standalone tricks, and it was everything from like cutting a rope, and as a kid, they would show in the commercial the trick, and it's when you bought it, you'd find out how it worked, but it was always like something really whoa, and I remember like being in the car, reading the instructions, and then doing it for my mom on the way home, and getting mad that she wasn't amazed by it, even though she literally watched me buy it, read the instructions, and do it in front of her. We all go through the magic phase. I think what it was about Amazing Jonathan was I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
I thought he was taking, as someone at that age who had not seen hacky comedy magicians, he was taking the concept of magic as setup, but then having great punchlines that I wasn't expecting. To me, you could either be a magician or a comedian. I couldn't believe that I could get a good magic trick and have him tape a $20 bill together with scotch tape and pretend that that's the trick. Or he was absurdist too. Like he, in one of his specials, he brought up a guy named Robert, like from the crowd. What's your name? Like Robert. Oh, okay, Robert. And then like at one point in the thing, he goes, "All right, Robert." And Robert doesn't say anything. He goes, "Robert!" And the guy goes, "What?" He goes, "Oh, there you are." I didn't, like, it was just something absurd that when you're a kid, you can't even pinpoint why. It's just different from anything you had seen. It was great, It's just...
You also like me. You also liked Gallagher.
Yeah,
when you were
absolutely.
younger. I think it's interesting that he's a good way in for Carlin if you really are paying attention to what, and he's been accused of stealing some Carlin stuff.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, according to Gallagher, they were friends. All right, so then
I've told you my Gallagher story, right?
No,
the day I decided to do stand up, I met Gallagher. He was I was serving him at my restaurant. The day I decided to do stand up comedy, he was in my section. And I never got celebrities at all. And I never, when I did have celebrities, I wouldn't be like, "Excuse me, I'm a really fan." But I was just like, "I just want to let you know, sir, you're a huge influence on me. My mom and I were raised on you. You've brought a lot of joy into my family, and I'm actually going to try stand-up comedy tonight. Do you have any suggestions? Or, do you have any, advice?" And he pitched me 2 jokes that were just terrible, just awful. He took his glasses off and said something like, what was it? It was like, "Oh, you see these? I just got these from Apple. They're my eyeglasses." That's exactly my reaction. But I could tell he was expecting, well, yeah, I mean, I don't. But it was humbling. It destroyed a little bit of the mystique. Because I remember him doing long-form bits about the English language. This is pronounced this, but it's spelled this. 10 minutes of just dense stuff. Yeah. And here he is, just giving me a couple of the worst jokes I've ever heard in my life.
Well, he's not going to give you his A material.
True. I wasn't oh, wow, you got a new sledge-o-matic bit you want to do? But yeah, I'm not spiritual or anything, but I thought of it as wow, this is a great introduction into trying stand-up. And then I went on stage that night and bombed.
You are one of a number of comics that have done stand-up in both New York and L.A. I don't think a lot of people are aware of the differences.
Yeah.
So, if you want to just take a little bit, and talk about that.
The cliche is true. A lot of stand-ups in LA are actors who are just trying to use it as another tool, are hoping that it gets them a sitcom so they can never do... There is a little bit of I have an affinity for stand-up now that I didn't have when I started, where I love stand-up, and I'd be happy being... If it could pay my rent, I'd be a road comic the rest of my life. I feel like I would do that because I love the business. Instead of when I first started, which was, hey, maybe this will get a manager to notice me and give me an acting job in something. I would have easily traded doing stand-up immediately for regular commercial work. I think there's a lot of people in LA that are doing it for that reason. That in the time that I was in LA doing it, I didn't do it day in, day out like I do out here. So I didn't see it fully, but it just it spread out. It spread out a lot. In New York, if you're doing comedy in Manhattan, you're running into the same three people at mics all over the city because it's, there's only so many places you can go. Everyone knows this, everyone knows that. In LA, you drive an hour and a half to that coffee house in Pasadena, and then you go to this other place in, Long Beach, or you go somewhere else. And I didn't really ever felt like I saw anybody or was building a community amongst comics. It was more just kind of like do your thing and leave, and nobody's going to remember your name. And I did a couple of bringer shows that went well, and people were like, "Wow, that was great, man!" But it was like it was a surprise thing. It wasn't, "Wow, I'd like to get to know you. I can't wait to see your stuff again." It was, "Oh, that was good. I'll never see you again." And you really felt like you were just going to fall back into the void and never see that person again. Versus New York, where it's like, I can't wait until I see that person again. The few comics that you see where you're like, oh, they have a voice. Man, I can't wait. It was also maybe that I wasn't connecting to people on social media. I wasn't, so I didn't know what they were doing. I guess I could have put more of an effort in LA to find the people I liked but I literally lived on a block of a comedy club in North Hollywood. And I rarely went to that place. They did mics 5 days a week at 5 o'clock. And I went a couple times, and it was the Cool Kids Club. They would start 30 minutes late. There'd be 5 people in the room, and they're all along the back going through their notes and not even looking. And it would just, you never felt like you were...
So it was like New York Comedy Club, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. But you can find the places in New York where you feel like everybody feels out of place, and then there's like the camaraderie that builds out of just everybody feeling that way, instead of it being like, bro, what's up, man? Oh shit, I got wasted last night. All right, we'll start in a couple minutes. Like the guy running it's not even looking you in the eye, and like, oh, okay. Like there's places in New York I feel like are a lot more. Oh, cool! Can't wait to see your stuff, man. Even if it's superficially,
right.
So, but yeah, I don't know. That's all I know for sure, I think. Everything else is a matter of degrees. It's the same thing of when I'd be in college in Florida, and we'd have people from New York who graduated the year before would come in and tell us what it's like doing theater in New York as opposed to doing theater in Florida. And they're trying to really define it and give the advice that was going to make or break you, but then it's just like you get there and you realize everyone starts from ground zero again. Everyone starts at the bottom and figures it out and has to go through that process. I think. I don't know.
Had you, because you telling me your dad lives in California now, right? Had you been to California before you went to UCLA?
We came out to visit in 2000. We came out to visit and look at colleges. And I think we only looked at UCLA, USC, and the Stella Adler Conservatory. Were like the only places. But it was like a little mini vacation. My dad knew a college friend out here, so we hung out with him a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And it was, it was fun. I had an ear piercing at the time. Oh man, I think I was listening to a lot of Matchbox 20 at the time. That was a was it harrowing to make the jump literally across the country from Florida to Cali? It didn't mean anything. I was absolutely ready.
It was just like
I got on a plane the night of my high school graduation.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done with this.
Wow.
Like, I changed out of my cap and gown in the car on the way to I was done. There are those things when you become an adult, you forget those life-changing experiences. Going to a new school, moving to a new house, that really change like, oh man, my entire life is different now. And yeah, as an adult, you have having kids, getting married, getting divorced. You have those moments, but I think those are different feelings than when you're a kid and you have those. Everything is different now. New friends, everything. You're literally losing everything you had before, especially before the internet. There was a lot of that. So I remember there were a couple when I got to California. Before college, as soon as college started, I was like, just yay! But for those couple of months, adjusting to a smaller house in a hotter, drier place, wasn't as humid. Like I used to be able to walk my dog around the pond of our townhouse. There was a really nice mulched pond. Walkway, and now I have to walk my dog like on Reseda Avenue with the smog, and there's like the remnants of a bicycle in the middle of the sidewalk. You know, it was like it was a culture shock a little bit, and I had just broken up with my girlfriend, and she had given me the Weezer Blue album, which I'd never listened to. It's always about those albums that you're listening to at a very specific time in your life. And I was like, "What's Weezer?" And she's like, "I'm giving you Weezer the Blue album." And so I was listening to that a lot. But it was harrowing a little bit. But as soon as college picked up, it was just a free for all of emotion and assimilating new information and learning and growing and feeling like you're an adult. The immense sense of freedom. You know, going from not being able to look at porn on the computer because the computer is faced towards the rest of the room, so like having no privacy to look at porn, to all of a sudden I'm alone in a dorm room with a really attractive girl. And my dad is 70 miles that way. Holy crap. Like, that huge shift from, like, overnight was just, yeah. That's how I felt about it, but yeah.
When you moved to New York from L.A., did you feel the same way as when you had left Florida? That you were, like, done?
No, because I had done a bigger move. When my mom got sick, I moved from L.A. to Florida to be with my mom, and then pretty much lost everything in my life, and came back to LA with like 2 suitcases, thousands of comics, furniture, you know, like building a life, and then all of a sudden having to start with what you can fit in a suitcase, kind of turned me into a little bit of a nomad. So by the time I came to New York, it was like, as long as I have those 3 shirts that I really like, everything else is, you know, fine. I'll figure it out. I'm the type of guy, I don't know if you're the same way, where, like, if I'm on vacation and I'm sleeping somewhere for more than a week, that starts to feel like home. And it's almost weird to put yourself in the mindset of having to go back, you know? I don't know if other people are like that, but I feel like, you know, oh, I guess this is my reality now. Oh, nope, no time to go back to that thing that I was doing before. Oh, okay, sure. You know, I don't know. I don't know.
Alright. I don't have time to get into it. Oh. Okay.
We haven't started recording, right? Just
Not yet.
Okay, cool.
Oh, man. See, I don't know if I want to... Alright. This is... Yeah. What's Christmas dinner at Kevin Smith's house?
I think I tasted the most expensive champagne in the world. It's good. It's not great. Yeah, I worked. So I worked. My buddy and I were walking by. We were going to UCLA. We were walking by Westwood, and there was a sign outside of a closed up building that said like soon to be Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, L.A. Now taking applications, and we literally walked in and filled out applications from the owners who were kind of in the room, like putting the place together, and we got the jobs working at his comic book store, and it was co-owned by Kevin Smith and managed by some other people. But Kevin Smith basically had his store in Red Bank, New Jersey, but was in L.A. now and wanted his own comic book stores for his own pull list, so he could just come in and get his comics. So I think I remember that being kind of like the impetus behind him opening a store. And I had never really been a Kevin Smith fan, which is why I think I got the job. I think if I were like a drooling,
clerk,
they knew
you would just be there to work.
Yeah, like I liked comic books, so I could talk to people about comic books. But I think that was what they were looking for, and not necessarily someone who could quote Chasing Amy. So we put the store together. We worked in it for a couple of years while it was open. And Kevin was nice enough to invite us to his house in the Hollywood Hills. I remember walking by, I want to say, Ben Affleck, Muse, and Kevin playing poker. At one point, I saw his DVD wall. You have a very fine DVD collection.
Thank you.
Imagine an entire, and we were asking him about it because we saw, Garfield. And we were like, really? Garfield? And he goes, I literally just buy what comes out. When it comes out, I buy it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wonderful, wonderful play. I felt a little out of place in a house that big. And he was, obviously, he had a bunch of people over, so it wasn't like, me and Kevin were hanging out.
Right.
But we got to walk around. I think I accidentally called his daughter Haley. Harley, based on Harley Quinn. Yeah. But I think I called her Haley by accident because I was nervous. But a real nice dude and was very, very sweet.
All right.
And yes, he has an American Express black card. That just the weight of that thing, knowing that this is like, okay, this is a.
Let's talk about because I want to talk about specifically your process.
Mm-hmm.
You have a fairly unique way of evaluating your jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Is there an established process that I'm going against?
There is. I don't think there is. I mean, I think everyone's. The way that they rate their jokes is unique.
Right.
Just so correct me if I have this wrong, because this is my impression. Everyone should. I also feel like everyone should get not to look at your notebook to read it specifically.
Yeah.
But just from afar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To see. Oh, okay. So, you tell a joke. How many times do you tell a joke? When you're trying it out,
I mean, it depends. It's a crapshoot. The process used to be not how many times have I told this joke, but who has seen me tell this joke. I went through a long ass phase where I was so interested in impressing the comics that were impressing me that I felt like it was a failure if they saw me do the same thing. So that was what dictated what my set was going to be that night, who was there. But as soon as I got over that and got into a regular pattern, it depends. I'll do something 3 or 4 times, and if it doesn't get a reaction any of those times, it's gone. But if it gets a modest reaction, I'll work on it, see if I can improve it, do a variation of it, maybe about 10 or 15 times before I say that's either staying or it's going.
And you listen back to audience reaction,
Mm-hmm.
and you number rate.
Yes.
The based on the reaction, and then you average that out.
That comes out of a. I'm sure that I will get, when we all get to a point where there's a confidence level in our material that it's going to garner a certain reaction every time, or it deserves a certain reaction every time, or screw it, I like it, so it's staying in the act, blah, blah, blah. I'm at a point where I'll do something and it kills, and then I'll do it the next night and it dies.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no... I feel like I don't have control of the reins of it a lot of times. So the only way I know how to really read the integrity of what I'm saying is to do literally a point system, 1 to 10. That's a 7.5, but then it was a 4.3, and then coming out with an average. And anything over a 7 average after having done it at least 5 times is something I consider keeping. That's a process I was using. I haven't used that in maybe like the last month. I've been kind of straying away from it, but I know I'm going to eventually come back and watch them and listen to a month's worth of my recordings and add the new stuff that I'm thinking of to that. And I'm very messy. I have 30,000 different Word documents of some stuff over here, some stuff over here, this worded this way, this worded differently, and there's no cohesive, oh, that's his encyclopedia of jokes, which I really want.
Your jokes are, a lot of times, very, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a precision.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know that you're a movie quoter, like I'm a movie quoter.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it comes from that, of the fact that you said to get not just the words, but the cadence.
Mm-hmm.
How do you practice being so precise, well, especially with the jokes where the order of the words is so important?
We've talked about this before, where it's like some people are able to go up there with their notebook and rattle stuff off and see what gets a bite. Like, oh man, if this concept works, great. My process is there should be a level of intense presentation, which is a double-edged sword, because when you work your ass off for something you think is funny and you do it in front of a crowd for the first time and it doesn't get the reaction you want, and it's like, I just spent 40 minutes doing it. Like it kills me. Like, I wish I had just said it, and then I could have saved myself a lot of time. Mm-hmm. I record myself. My process right now, it changes, but my process right now is I'll take a concept that I think is funny. Like right now, I'm working on a bit about when I tried to read Moby Dick when I was 11, which is a true story, and I'm going to try to work on it tonight. I hope it works. But I'll take that concept and I will record myself for 10 minutes just talking about it. I record myself 10 minutes doing it with a mic in my hand, standing up, as if I'm riffing. Because I'm so bad at riffing, I'm so bad at crowd work.
It's not true.
It's not my forte. I always feel uncomfortable up there doing it. So to build a confidence, I'm just riffing, and I don't even look at the time until 10 minutes goes by and an alarm goes off. Then I go back and I listen to that, and I pick out little gems, little things that could have something, and then I hone in on those and do 5 minutes of just those bullet points until I have what could be my 3.5 minutes about it, or whatever it would be. And then I turn off my recording and I just do it in front of a wall, literally with a wall right in front of me. That comes from my buddy in college who taught me how to juggle, and he said, juggle in front of a wall. Because your instinct when you're juggling is to like move forward and move forward and move forward, and the best way to stop doing that is just do it in front of a wall, so you literally can't move forward anymore. And that has just stuck with practicing lines for plays and everything. I just do it like literally in front of a wall. Because I would love to have floodlights and be able to turn off, and I did go to Home Depot wondering how cheap would it be to because I want the reality. Yeah. I want lights in my face. Doesn't matter how much. Doesn't matter how. Like when you're doing a play, you're doing it in a black box. You're doing it in a black box. You're doing it in a black box. But then you get on that stage, and all of a sudden you have 20 more feet on either side. It's a completely different beast. So I want as close to that as possible. So I'll just rehearse it over and over and over and over. That contained bit, like my contained bit, is 3 minutes long now about Moby Dick. I've got a section at the end that I'm not happy with, but I might do it depending on if I get a good reaction tonight. I'll keep it. Otherwise, I'll totally throw it away. And the weird thing is, my memory has like a bell curve. Like there's a variation of a bit that I'm trying to work on right now that I was struggling with the memorization of. It's a bit where I want to go into an old-timey newsreel announcer voice, and it never got the reaction I wanted it to, so I went back and rewrote it and made it very specific. But I couldn't, and I tried my best to memorize it in a day. I'm going to memorize this exact line, and I couldn't. I got up on stage and blanked. But then I didn't think about it after that. And the next day, today, I have it memorized perfectly. So it's like, I'll memorize something, but then I have to put it away for a day.
Right.
And then it'll be in my head. Like, I mean, you know, here we see some American GIs with the whole caboodle. They'll give Hitler the what's what and the cat's meow, but don't worry, they'll go ducky shin cracker long before they go A to the bar. That's for Charlie. I struggled my ass off to do that yesterday. I was on stage like...
I know the joke that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Well, yeah, but it needed to be that specific.
You really, yeah.
But I
really
tried...
cranked it up.
Yeah. But I tried
That's
to memorize it, and the other night I was on stage going... Here we see Americans. Hey Hitler. All right, next joke. Like, because I couldn't, and I struggled all day to memorize it, but now I have it. Like, I didn't even try. It's like, damn it. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my process right now. I don't have a set process because I'm always a little worried that there is a perfect process that works a lot better for me that I just haven't figured out yet. Even though this works right now, kind of, it never works enough for me to feel like, that's it every day. So I'm always trying stuff new, and I'll try everything except going up on stage without a planned presentation. Because I've done it. I'll let you listen to the hours of, hey guys, like, you know, like beans, the musical fruit. Like, what if that was like a larger song, and the composer like got mad, and it's just like 8 minutes of, dude, man, say something.
That's a funny premise, though. I want to hear more of that.
I had, like, my first year, I had a whole thing about kid sayings and the when you're a kid, and opposite day, and first is the worst, second is the best. Did you ever have that saying when you were a kid? No.
Third is the nerd who forgot to get dressed.
Really? That's
Yeah.
what you had? Because I had third is the one with the treasure chest, or third is the one with the hairy chest.
Those
which
are
was
both
funny.
terrible.
They're both terrible, but they both represent completely different ends of the spectrum of what it means to be in third place. Like, first is a word, like, and I love, because that had to come out of someone who was not fast,
Yeah.
who was losing, and just decided...
He's fast enough to be second, though.
Right. He wasn't last. He wasn't dead last.
He was right there.
Yeah. And he was smart enough to come up with a rhyme and knew that kids appreciated rhymes more than physical strength. Because as long as I have a rhyme, first is the worst, second is the best, and then have something for the third one. I love that kid mentality of, damn it, he's right.
Yep.
You know?
It's like, I won the race, but I lost the war.
Yeah. Third is
I know this is... Third is the nerd.
Third is the nerd.
Who forgot to get dressed. See, that's why I like it, because you have the interior third nerd, and then he forgot to get dressed, and it's like, that's why he's a nerd.
Yeah.
Because he showed up to school naked.
Did he, though? Because you can tell immediately.
Well...
That's like saying guy with three arms.
In the context of racing, or, you know, a foot race, it's like, whatever you did to prepare for this race, however you got dressed for the race, it wasn't enough because you got third place.
But I like
clearly
how
second place is what we were looking for here.
I love that. The second place is what you want.
So it's like, so then once that idea sinks in, it's like, do you have two kids running and neither of them wants to cross the finish line first, and they're just like looking at each other, and then the one guy pushes the other guy over?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, now to did you I hate to ask about specific jokes, but the joke about the comedians and the microphone is interesting to me because it's I think every comic wants to do observational humor on other comics, and I just think it's that's one of the few observational bits about comics that's actually, that is entertaining beyond one telling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of them are. And do you remember how that came to you? When that came to you? Because it's such a.
It came from Plesiosaur versus Ferguson. I wanted more. There was a guy. The first mic I ever went to was this coffee house in Pasadena, and there was a guy who kept going up, and he looked like an Iranian Elvis, and he was very hacky. He had the blazer. Everyone else was like, I've got a video game shirt on and glasses, and I'm 19, and he was like 55, like a face like a catcher's mitt. And was like, hey, oh boy, I tell you, I don't know. And he did that. And I wanted to mock him, but within the context of appreciating the history, because I thought he was not funny at all. And then he went on, I saw him at a show, and he brought the house down. And he had the audience in the palm of his hand. So it gave me a respect for him that I didn't have previously, because I didn't see that there was a method, that he was working on something, and fuck it, if you guys aren't laughing at the mic, there's something more to it. Anyway, so I wanted to mock, originally it was mocking that style, then it became, I don't want to mock it, I want to acknowledge that is a style we don't see anymore, and I changed the wording to be like, I wish I was that type of comedian. I wish I were like him, because that's like a confidence that I don't have. Again, bringing back the confidence thing. And so I had that part of the joke, and that part requires the mic to be in the stand, because it's kind of me going into, like, the guy who doesn't even hold the mic. And then originally, a couple of years later, I wanted to take that further and went into, what was the original form of it? It was a much simpler version of what it became, where it's like, if I held the mic way down here, it was a joke about Ron Paul. Instead of now, it's the joke about being an art history major. It used to be like, you ever notice Ron Paul looks like Ian McKellen?
Oh, yeah,
it was political humor, observational. He's always very confident about his modest observations. And then the middle-of-the-road guy who I could never find a funny joke for. And then the guy talking about his dick, holding the mic up front. And it would do well at mics, but it would never do well at shows. Because it was too accusatory. Cynical mic comics would be like, that's funny, that's true, people do that, but it never translated for an audience, and I still don't think it does. Because I cut it down. I didn't do 9 minutes. I mean, I have like 5 different hand placements that I could do, but it's one of those where I struggle because I don't want to come off as insulting. Originally, the middle-of-the-road hand placement of the joke was, hey, autocorrect, everybody, am I right? Like, as if I'm saying, hey, all comics have a hacky autocorrect joke. And then I wrote an autocorrect joke and was like, oh, shit, like, this is making fun unnecessarily. I wouldn't want someone to go up before me and do some, like, sweeping generalization about something that was something that I was planning on going up there and doing. If I was confident, that's a shitty thing to do to a confident comic, and it's an even shittier thing to do to someone who's maybe going up there for the first time. Like, holy shit, I haven't even thought about how I hold the mic. And all of a sudden, this guy's getting up there being like, you ever notice these assholes do it this way? And it's like, oh, man. So I wanted to get away, as far away from making fun of like, it's tough because comedy is in specifics, but I wanted to keep it far away from specifics that would actually be close to what a comic might do after me. And every comic I talked to would say, no, it's not insulting, it's funny, it is observational. I would love to find a way to make it accessible to a larger audience, but right now it's just something I do for a good room that's half comics, half crowd, you know. Yeah, I love the observational stuff. I really do. Like getting... I think most of my... I wouldn't even know how to, like, define my stuff, but I think it is very... Do you ever notice, hey, this thing... It is a lot of that stuff. It's not specifics. It's general concepts. It is a little Seinfeldian in its... there's this and there's that, which is kind of weird.
But
Because
you
what if
use
it was
specifics
like this?
for your examples. It's not like...
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're always like the romantic comedies.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you have enough ammunition that nobody's ever gonna think of any of your concepts as being, you know, lacking of evidence or whatever. You know what
Sure.
I mean?
I don't know. Like, it tells you how little I even define it. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even think about how I worry about coming off as insulting, but then after that, I just kind of let it go, and I don't even.
No, you just write jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all coming from me, so that's. Remember when I first started, I was like, I don't want the audience to be able to anticipate what type of comic I am. I want to do a poop joke, followed by a joke about inverse matrices, followed by, you know, another dick joke. You know, like, I don't want... Like, I think what's funny is the audience not being able to anticipate. And that was me being idealistic, thinking that a voice wouldn't eventually take over and some form of consistency in the style would turn me into a specific type of comic, which is just what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that I could avoid that. Although I did write a joke the other day that is completely not my style. I asked Daryl about this too, and Daryl has one too that's absolutely not his style at all. He has nowhere to put it in his set, but it's good and it's funny, but it's this standalone thing that it doesn't fit. And it's like, it sucks to lose something, but it's just not, it's not my voice. It would be jarring.
I wrote one the other day that I'm afraid is like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Sure.
We'll talk about it off the air. Yeah, man. This was good.
Yeah,
this
fun.
was pretty incredible. You were awesome.
Thank you.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, you got to do plugs. You have a Twitter. What's your Twitter?
Yeah, my Twitter is at David Columbo.
Okay.
There's a condescending picture of me just staring at whatever I just tweeted. That's my face. It's in black and white. I'm wearing it, and I have a beard. I was at a wedding. And I also have a podcast, Cautiously Poptimistic, all one word, on iTunes. We're currently on hiatus, but we do have a back catalog of about 10 episodes that are rocking.
Yeah, it's very good.
And thank you. And
I just listened to episode 10 the other day.
yeah. And yeah.
And you want to plug your YouTube thing or no?
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, if you're interested, Peter Cannonball is my YouTube channel. Most of the stuff that I put, old sketches and whatnot, would go up there, and you know,
Hilarious stuff.
Oh,
It
thank
really
you very
is
much.
It's all very good. It's very entertaining. And also, for the people that care, if you go to the Peter Cannonball, there's like, it just seems like you put like a week's worth of you doing mics from like December of 2013, which is cool because you can hear some jokes that you do currently, like in their infancy.
Mm-hmm.
The best part though is I don't know if you remember this at all, but this is also a good opportunity for you to do one of my favorite impressions that anybody does of anybody else. Is you hear you're doing the movie titles joke, and gosh, I think you do. It's where you mishear the thing, right, and you go, patent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I think another one, the last time I heard you do it was Predator, which was really funny. But so I think you do say patent, and then you hear somebody from stage left, right,
Yeah.
to the right of the screen go, Fight Club.
Yeah. It's Tony Brooklyn.
Yeah. And it's which is just hilarious to me to hear him and hear him chiming in. But can you just do your impression of Tony Brooklyn saying, what were you telling me the other night? He hates one of your jokes
Oh
or something?
yeah, because he has a lot of tattoos. What I love about Tony Brooklyn is he's so funny usually, if you find somebody like just absolutely hilarious, they lose a little bit of the mystique about who they are as a person. You think it humanizes them. I'm scared to death of Tony Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Absolutely scared to death of him.
And I love the kid too.
I love him.
Yeah, I'd take a bullet for him.
He's really funny. I've had like drunk conversations with him at the bar where we've just like really got along. He's a sweet, sweet dude. But there's something about his voice saying, "Yo, that joke you do about tattoos, I don't like it." That isn't. It's not him saying, "Hey, I don't enjoy that." It's, "Hey, don't do it tonight," or at least that's how I take it. And I'm just like, "Oh, okay." I don't write my set anymore based on who's in the room like I used to, but I kind of do if Tony Brooklyn's in the room because it's so. I mean, he is just hilarious, and he's one of those who, when I first saw him, I didn't get it.
Me too.
And I didn't. And I saw the first night I saw him,
a couple times,
he didn't do well. And I was like, what is this? And then I saw him do the exact same thing and bring the house down. And I'm like, that's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over the moon for him. Over the moon for him. Also scared to death that he's going to kill me because of my mediocre joke about tattoos.
All right, that's a good way to wrap it up.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one.
All right, y'all. That wraps up another fun-filled episode. Thanks to y'all for listening. Thanks to Dave Columbo, of course. And man, check me out on Twitter at Josh Paladini, JoshPaladini. On YouTube, Muggies247, MUGGIES247. Take care, y'all. We'll see you real soon. I said y'all a lot, didn't I?